it out. We're all the same, a little. Someone just wanna be bad. Not getting bad.
It's Footy and Frothies. Daggy back with you. I guess we'll open the show with the announcement that Barney, a good friend Dave Harvey, is going to take an indefinite leave from the show with a young child on the way and a fair bit going in his life. He can no longer really justify the long hours we put in to try and make this happen each and every week. So he's going to take a break for the foreseeable future at least and do what's best for him and his family. So over the last 4.5 years, I think you'd struggle to find too many better, I know I'm a bit biased, but too many better rugby league analysts, at least in podcast land and most media land, to be honest. So wish him all the best. Obviously knows who his mates are, and hopefully he can do the best he can by him and his family. So all the best to him. You can reach out through the Footy and Frothies page if you wanted to get in touch in the meantime. But so with that happening, going to, at least for the next few weeks, I don't think anyone wants to listen to me waffle on by myself for hours about rugby league. So to keep the page ticking over, we're going to try and produce a preview and rope in a few guests and take a bit of time and see what we're going to do come later in the season in terms of a review show there. But for today, so all the best to Barn. Thank you. I think it was the last 4.5 years, and I've already spoken to him, and he'll hopefully pop his head back in for a preview here and there. But all the best to him in the meantime. We're joined by Danaan, friend of the show, people who have been on board with SuperCoach and season previews would recognise his head. So he's going to step in when he can in the next few weeks. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thanks for having me on. Big shoes to fill, I guess. That's hopefully, Barn, you're doing well. A lot of love and support I've seen online for you. We're all here for you, mate. So, but that's the same for anyone that needs a hand in life. Make sure you reach out, talk to your mates as required.
Here. So, as I said, I'll size up the best way we're going to handle reviews going forward, whether they're into more bite-sized YouTube chunks or whether I'll just give some opinions in here, but definitely keep rolling with the previews because they're quite popular. But I'll just ask you quickly, and we'll get into a little bit of news. What have you made of Paris season to date and the sacking of BA? It's been something you've been craving for a few years.
There is a God. Parramatta Jesus was back last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, I haven't seen him since the train in high school. I guess he's
exactly.
come back.
A lot of people are saying, terrible time to do it. Moses and Gutho wasn't there. But Trent Barrett has shown today that even with those two, I know they've made a comeback, but he's finally dropped Lane to the bench. Hands is finally in.
Yep.
Like the changes that could have been made, he just wasn't making. And fair credit to him, he did do well in his time. They made a grand final. But I just feel like their premiership window has closed, and I feel like if there was a better coach, there may have been a different result over the last couple of years.
And it's not a quick fix either. Like, it's an old forward pack. Bart and I discussed it a few weeks ago. Where do you even start? This is a longer than a 1 or 2 or 3 year turnaround. Is there somewhere you want to see focused on? Are there players you think they should be building around?
Blaze, he needs to be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
They need to, and I don't blame him. I don't think he's going to sign until he knows who the coach is.
Yep. And obviously Lomax coming, who they've now got to discuss with again.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a bit of an issue there. Gutho's back this week, but is his long-term future fullback, or does he move into the centres and Blaze becomes that fullback? Is that what it's going to take to have to keep him? I know just like he's 14 this week. I'm sure he won't want to be 14 every week. There'll be another side that signs him to say, we're going to give you a starting spot in the not too distant future. But I think you mentioned it earlier with the forwards. I think there's just too many that we've got too much money in the forwards. One of the arguments I had with Arthur was the forward rotation.
Yeah.
Big money props playing big minutes, fair enough, but they're all 3-4 years older now. They were Origin representatives. They haven't been selected for game one. Lane was another one that there was talk about potentially like that Australian side 2 years ago when they made that run to the grand final. He got a contract upgrade. He's been nothing of the same player. Ryan Madison's another one that's just big money, not producing what needs to be done. Hopgood's probably one of the cheapest forwards we've got, and he's the one that's outshining everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned we know he's on the market. I'd be trying to throw the checkbook at Angus Crichton. If not, maybe one of the other East pack there, your Butchers or your Tupanuas, and see if you can get one of them, who I imagine they're going to have to offload somewhere along the line. And just get some fresh blood and some mobility into the forward pack, I suppose. But even looking at this, I couldn't. And I know Sivo scored a couple of tries last week, but I couldn't imagine you couldn't crowbar Blaze onto a wing or even ahead of Sean Russell in the centres or something.
Well, I would have had. I personally think Russell's better on the wing, so I would have had him on the wing, Blaze in the centres.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be 1 to 17 that runs out.
Yeah.
There might be a change here or there. Whether that's it or there's another change, I don't know. Hands playing hooker.
Yeah. Looks like he
don't
now
know
has
if he's
to
got
be
80 minutes in him.
Yeah,
So that
maybe Gutho goes to dummy half for that.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what. Obviously, first time Barrett's named this side. The side he named last week was pretty much identical to the Arthur one the week before, with a couple of changes, late changes due to Madison being ill and that. But yeah, the plan for the Eels, I think it needs to be, as you were saying, it's a 5-year plan at minimum.
Yeah.
They've got to get their juniors.
I was going to say they're not short of juniors
right.
between Wenty and whoever else is in that, middle, far western Sydney.
That's it. They've got a lot of juniors, and they just seem to be losing them constantly. Ideally, it's aim for the top 8 the next year or two, and then go from there. But yeah, the premiership, I don't see a premiership window happening for 5 seasons now.
No, exactly. And is there a coach that you think, if you had the checkbook, who are you trying to get now, given who's on the market, who's around?
I was one of the ones that was saying Wayne Bennett from the start of the season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have waited till as long as they did, and by the time they waited, it was too late. I don't know whether they go down like the Sharks path where they've got Craig Fitzgibbon, who just had that long, wasn't the head coach anywhere, but had that long understudy of just the top coaches. Yeah. If they're going down that, it's probably Jason Ross.
Yeah. And I think Josh Hannay's the Queensland equivalent. I think I called him Ben Hannay on one show, but I think it's Hannay.
Yeah, so if they're going down that path, it's probably one of those two. This talk that Maguire, I don't see that happening. The guy's just got the New South Wales job. He'd have to quit the New South Wales job, so I don't understand that. Holbrook's name's come up. I don't see that happening either. So I do have a feeling it's going to be a young and inexperienced coach.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, otherwise it's only cast-offs. It's only Demetrio. It's only McGregor. It's only Book.
That's what I mean. It's, geez, imagine if we get stuck with Barrett.
Or Barrett, yeah.
So I do find it
that's
funny
actually
that
the worst thing that happened. In a weird way, the worst thing happening is you can now win 5 of your next 10 because there probably will be back.
That's what I was worried of. That's exactly what I'm worried of. But Manly fans laughing at us because we've got Barrett now, but it's like, have you seen that you've got Seabolden going backwards?
Yeah. Well, they knocked off the Storm this week, so
they did well.
Who managed to produce the worst effort in many years, probably for them actually.
Craig Bellamy said 5-day turnarounds are too hard, apparently.
Well, Tigers had the same, and look what happened there. They've had like 2 in the last 3 weeks, so I'm a little bit forgiving there. Where should we go next? Do you want to go to Origin? Do you want to run through quickly and just touch on last week's footy very quickly? I said we weren't going to a full review tonight.
No, happy. I'll just follow your lead, mate.
Well, okay, let's run through quickly the Origin news. The big one is Dylan Edwards has replaced James Tedesco. Just quickly, the New South Wales team, if you're watching this show, I'm sure you know well enough what it is, but it's Edwards, Tuo, Crichton, Swiley, Lomax, Luai and Nico are the halves. Jake Travojevic, prop and captain. Robson takes the hooker spot. Haas, Martin, Crichton, McGuinness. The bench is Yo, Olakauatu, Lenu, Young, Matt Burton, Keary, Barnett, the standby players. For Queensland, no surprises really. It's essentially the Australian team. Reece Walsh, Coates, Holmes, Hammer, Tuolangi, Dearden, DCE, Cotter, Collins, the props, Ben Hunt, Sewer, Nanai, Carrigan, Harry on the bench, Mo Fodawaker, Hopgood, Cobbo make up the 17, Kafusi, Piakora, Ezra on standby. Any one of them could could switch in and out, I would suggest come game day. Look, the biggest surprise, I've a long time ago stopped caring too much about Origin. I don't lose sleep over who gets picked and who doesn't. I would have stuck with Teddy. I would have picked Appy as well. From a selfish point of view, Appy needs a break, so I'm more than happy to see him have a couple of weeks off. And I suggest it from a wider spectrum. James Tedesco is about to become very popular in SuperCoach, but anyone there that really stands out as shocks or anyone you think's unlucky?
Carraz, I think he's extremely unlucky for how well he's been playing to not even have been mentioned.
Yeah.
I think his stats this year for the Bulldogs, who haven't been going great every week, I know they just put a score on the Dragons, but for Suaalii to get in over Carraz, I think that was probably my biggest shock. Just the fact he wasn't mentioned at all.
Yeah. And even, I think even he's probably considered a rung out because I'm sure Fox would have been next off. They still would have looked at Adokar, would have looked at some other, some others before them. Look, Suaalii's an interesting one because he hasn't blown me away this season the way he has some, but he's one of those players that's better live. Like Magic Round, he did stand out.
Yeah.
Like he really has a presence, whereas on TV, I don't think it always comes across, particularly in a team of superstars, I suppose. But I guess maybe he's had a goal kick as well, to be honest. But
that was going to be is Lomax. Is that part of the reason why Lomax was picked over someone like an Adokar?
I couldn't imagine Nico does it with a busted leg, so
yeah,
I imagine it's between those two as first choice kickers.
Crichton's also a goal kicker.
Yes, yeah. So look,
in saying that, so is Dylan Edwards. He's been kicking quite well with Cleary off, but
all bar Magic Round. I guess it feels a bit change for change's sake, given Tedesco's form, but I understand it. I'm not going to lose sleep over. I thought Yo was a no-brainer to start, but again, understand what they're looking for. I'm not as sold on Olakau'atu at Origin level as Summer, but you got to give him a crack, I suppose. But to me, if he's in a team, he starts. I think he's not someone that's going to come on and really do hard work through that middle. Yeah. Yeah,
that's where their bench looks better than ours.
100%. Yeah.
I would have Burton in there for the same reason they've got Cobbo.
The fact they're not releasing him, and they generally don't, not releasing him for Friday night suggests maybe we're going to switch.
Yeah.
And I think, fair enough.
Just with the HIAs in the game, even if the player's not ruled out for the game, at least Burton can fill a number of positions.
Yeah, that's true.
15 minutes is a long time in Origin. They're talking Hudson Young will go to the centres if somebody goes down. It will, if it's a half that goes down, they probably move Crichton into the halves for that 15 minutes, and then you've got Crichton and Young on an edge. Not, Reece Walsh will just run rings around them like he did Beau Fermor on the weekend.
Yeah, they've both done it. But yeah, exactly right. So,
they haven't learnt from Cook last year.
Matt Burton wouldn't shock. Like, you could make an argument of picking Burton first choice centre, really, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, Queensland, as I said, is what it is. Like, that's pretty close to the Australian team.
And they've still got several injuries.
100%.
In their forward pack, like Notino. We mentioned it. You asked first our Queensland side about 6 weeks ago, and there was pretty much a full starting side almost out that you could pick to go up against who they've picked now.
Yes, which would be just as strong.
Yeah.
So look, as I said, I don't lose sleep over Origin. I love watching the game, but it doesn't, isn't life or death to me. I would. All I'll say is I think $1.80 Queensland's fantastic. So I'll take it when we get there. Any final thoughts on Origin?
No. As you said, I expect a change or two. So next Tuesday might be a bit more interesting.
Yeah. And we'll wait and see. There's always something 20 minutes before the game.
I do like the typical Queenslander out though. So I believe it was Harry Grant was on social media today.
Yeah, already has. I think it's gastro or something.
Yeah, that mystery Queensland illness that hits the squad every season. So get well, Harry. Hope to Hope to see you there next Wednesday.
They can't take the field unless they're underdogs, so more power to them. We'll touch quickly on just a few, and I'll give out some 3-2-1s for the sake of Greg's head, because I know you won't like it if his stats aren't complete, so I'll just run through results from last week very quickly, and you can jump in at any point. Dogs defeated the Dragons. Where are we here? In a second half blowout, 44-12. I thought Dragons were well in the contest. Injuries didn't help. And I think in this day and age, it's just so important. We've seen it with Colbo going down. We've seen it. It happened to Penrith. We've seen it happen to some of the top teams. You lose one of those edges and try and crowbar a middle out there, and it's just chaos after that. And I think you can forgive the margin a bit. Not that it helps the Dragons going forward, I think, but I thought they were well in the contest up to the first half. And I wouldn't say it flattered the Bulldogs because they were brilliant in that second half, but everything possible went right for them. In racing terms, it was a perfect run, a PR.
How much do they win by if Sexton wasn't playing, though?
You know what really annoyed me? I didn't actually know there was a change, and I tipped the Dragons on the app, and I would have 100% changed my tips if I'd realised. I just turned the game on when it kicked off and didn't realise. I reckon even without Toby there, Dragons lead half time, and I would say it's closer to 28-12. He was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And it's what we've been calling for.
Bulldogs fans have been calling for it for ages.
I've been calling it for ages, and look, first chance he gets, they win by 30. So there it is.
Yeah.
I was thinking along the lines of Burton 3 points, 2 to Sexton, 1 to Crichton, or Carraz or DeBellin. Did anyone really jump out to you?
Well, it was Sexton. It was just that's exactly what they've been calling for, to be a top 8 team. It'd be interesting to see how they go moving forward. Obviously, it's going to be, he has to stay there now.
Absolutely.
The other big news out of that game was Kickow injured out 4 to 6 weeks with a broken finger or hand or something.
Yeah.
But 3-2-1's pretty much as you said. But yeah, Sexton and Burton were by far the best two on the field.
Yeah, we'll give who do you think won? Did Carraz or Crichton for that last one? Or DeBellin? I actually thought DeBellin was fantastic in this game.
DeBellin has been fantastic all season.
Yeah, his first half was tremendous, and then he only got to tackle second half.
The other one that you didn't mention, Jamin Salmon probably played his best game of the season.
Give it to Salmon, yes.
Salmon, yeah.
Some fantastic support play and a couple of tries. Friday kicked off with the Cowboys 42 over the Tigers 28. I won't spend too long here. This was a Tigers team that I think more than 10, I think they had 10 plus players that only played less than 10 first grade games or less than 20. It showed, I thought, ironically enough, I thought there was enough good signs for the Tigers in a drubbing where this exact team last year would have got beat by 70 in this game. And there was enough commitment. I thought Lockie, from a next year point of view, I thought Samuel Fainu now has owned that edge spot. Lockie Galvin looked great. Alamalo's got something there to work with. As I said, for a rookie team, I really liked Matamura as well. I think, it's 18 months away yet, but it is definitely positive signs. And Cowboys really, I would have said, were disappointing for patches here where they just let him back in the game. They would have clocked off. Val did what he had to do. I gave him man of the match. Townsend 2, and Lockie Galvin, who was everywhere, 1. Did you have any quick thoughts here?
I think it shows why the Cowboys won't make the 8.
100%.
Their defense was just not there, and that's a top team would have beat them.
Yeah.
It's
even with a bit of luck and experience, Tigers run them down. Like there was a key moment where Felladay made a break and ended up dropping the ball, and they reviewed it and all sorts of. And that changed. From there, they scored 2 tries and the game was done. But if that goes the other way, all of a sudden it's 20 all or 24-20 to the Tigers.
I know it's all the ifs and buts. But,
of course.
It's Tigers. They were down 3 tries after 15 minutes.
100%.
They just didn't come out of the sheds after once they actually got their head into the game, they outscored the Cowboys 5-4. But unfortunately, they'd already let in 18 points.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's awfully hard to be chasing your tail against a attacking side like the Cowboys when you're already down by 18. And then again, two of the tries were in the final 10 minutes again from from the Cowboys. So it's you guys just need to put in that full 80-minute performance, and you'll start seeing some wins on the board as you said, as the experience starts growing. But that's part of it.
Of course,
unfortunately, the biggest part is you guys need to make sure you're keeping these players.
Yes.
And keep building.
And
you don't want to be losing 4 or 5 to other clubs and then having to rebuild again.
And I've got a lot of faith in what Shane Richardson's already done and he's doing, moving on publicly, understand that, freeing up that. I assume that's going to lead, and he has signed for Penrith. I don't know if we've talked about it since then, but I imagine we might see a proper offer made to Adam Doueihi if he plays well, the back end of this season to shore up some depth, because there isn't a lot of depth and experience. So I feel like that, or someone off the radar will be signed before too long, and we'll just see what else happens.
How does that work if he does get injured again? Because surely next injury's career over. Would you get the cap relief? Because that's I'm sure that's what the Tigers are thinking.
You'd have to retire.
We would, yeah. So we would offer you more, but if you get injured again and we're not going to get the cap relief, we just can't afford to pay
exactly.
you.
Yeah. So it's an interesting question, and I'm sure there's clubs that will take him elsewhere where he can do better than base rate, which I imagine they'll offer better. At this stage, they'll and we won't turn this into a Tigers conversation either, but I think that I'd almost be shocked if Caesar is there next year. I think they might run, given Luai's coming, given Galvin's form, and Fainu and Sullivan, I would suggest Caesar and possibly Sullivan, if they can crowbar him out, will be the ones that go, and they'll try and keep Doueihi because at least it gives you centre and fullback cover down the road, assuming his legs stay on.
Definitely.
Seagulls 26, Storm 20. Storm couldn't gather away in the first half. Did you see much of this game?
Yeah, the Storm are lucky not to be down by more.
Yeah, 100%.
I know they've got a lot of injuries. And I think that's a lot more than the 5-day turnaround that Bellamy was complaining about. Like Pappenhausen, Munster. Who else did they had missing? Geez, I've gone blank now.
Yeah,
they're missing.
They're missing some of their bench rotation. They are. They're missing. They're missing. Well, there's 3 other proper first graders, and I've just forgotten all of them too. But
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, it's not that important. But just on the 5-day thing, I wouldn't be upset as much as I love footy as every night. The Thursday night game going, I think now needs to be discussed given the injury rate, or the focus on injury rate, and now it's becoming more of a thing. I don't think there's a way to have a fair draw with Thursday night games.
Yeah, Thursday goes and then an extra one on Sunday.
Yeah, just have the extra Sunday. Have either 6 o'clock Sunday or 2 o'clock Sunday.
And at the end of the day, they're going to, it's still going to put bums in front of the TV, and that's where the money comes from. That's why they keep the Thursday night. It's all about the money.
100%. And free-to-wear rights.
Yeah.
But anyway, they couldn't get in their way. Manly were good. There's plenty of early spreads, as they tend to do, led to points. I actually thought it was just about Ben Travojevich's best game of first grade. I was thinking him along the lines of man of the match. I thought Jake was just as good. And Katoa was the pick of the Storm in an average effort. Jake
almost played like he knew he was about to be named captain of a certain rep squad.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I thought they were inspired. The halves are both good for Manly. Hughes tried hard, but yeah.
They missed that polish, which could have been, a 40.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you get. Tommy Talau, good game, but had plenty of opportunity. They've got pace. They've got some strike. This game was what it was. Like I can't read too much more into it, apart from Melbourne. If they turn up and play properly, should probably win. Are you thinking which Travojevic gets your man of the match? I'm happy to.
I had Ben. Yeah. It was one of Ben's best games in the NRL.
Cool. Let's stick with that then. 3 to Burbo, 2 to Gerbo, 1 to Katoa. The Chooks 44 blew away the Raiders, who tried at times, but they essentially didn't have the strike power. My only real takeaway for me that I'll touch on is I really like what White did at lock, and I like Radley on an edge. I think that opens up another point of attack. It's something I'd suggest it might be worth looking at, and it worked here. But it was a James Tedesco show here. He was everywhere at his best. It was as good an Origin edition as you can want. And I thought Hudson Young in losing effort absolutely deserves his Origin spot on the back of what he's done in the last month. Any thoughts?
Are the Roosters premiership favourites now? I know the bookies don't have it, but they just seem like they can score points from anywhere on the field against any side, and their defence looks like it's finally coming back to what it was a few years ago.
If you gave me money to back someone to win the comp, it would be the Roosters.
Yeah.
I think they've got, as you said, too many points in them. Even there was a weird game at Magic Round, even a game against Cronulla. There was times where they just felt by far the better team. And then Cronulla got the momentum, just had the right swing of momentum for the last 10 minutes, and that was the difference. Not knocking Cronulla's effort in that game, but like just when they went to that extra level, they looked like they could have scored 3 tries, and they sort of came away with none, whereas another day, I think they'd convert that. A little bit like Brisbane last year. And the goal line defence is good enough.
It's similar to how they've built previously when they've won the comp.
Yeah. And we know by now.
It just has that feeling to it.
Yeah, we know by now Robbo never gets them up and going before around this time of year. And
yeah,
I think the next, especially with none of them playing Origin, they're about to put the cleaners through teams in the next 6 weeks. Like we'll see some 50s. And they're already averaging 40, I think, around anyway.
And that's been the difference the last couple of years, which has cost them the top 4. They've lost these games with Tedesco and multiple others missing. I know they're going to be missing, 3? Collins, Suoliti, and Crichton.
Yeah.
Kiri should be fine to come back in. So, they'll be keeping their spine throughout the whole Origin series. They've still got Warrior Hargreaves in the side. Joey Manu's playing unbelievable. As you said, Radley on an edge. White, he looks like an amazing player that they've got coming through. They're going to keep those big scorers up.
Plus, they've only just got Lenu back, who's in the Origin team as well. But he'll play his 15 minutes and he'll run through walls anyway. And
exactly.
Terrell May. So they've got depth off the bench and ball in motion off the bench. Terrell May was throwing cutout passes in this game. Rainbow balls and stuff. So, look, I had Teddy man of the match, I had Sam Walker for 2, and I had Hudson Young or Crichton or Manu for the 1 there. Any thoughts on that?
Young, as you said, Young in a losing side.
Yeah.
He has been amazing lately.
Cool. Yeah, let's go with that. Then we got this. It was enough to, have Barn throw the towel in here. 42-0. The Panthers, they didn't get to 50. But, geez, this was different gravy to what we've seen from Penrith in the last month. They came out here, whether it was the jungle drums around them looking tight or whether they've timed their run well, or whether Sharks shut the bed, which I think played a little role here. They were very, very impressive, and it was a Jerome Luai show. This was as good a half performance as we've seen all year, really, in what he did against the top team in the comp. I know he had the platform laid for him, but he was a part of everything. His kicking was as good as I've seen from him. And his short passing was good. His long passing good. He's picked his times to run. He just was absolutely on fire. Edwards was his best ally. And I actually thought Mitch Kenny had a fantastic game up against Blake Brayley. Owned him in defence, and I thought his service was very, very good. On the back of Fisher Harris putting together some good stuff since he's in the last few weeks as well. But what do you take away from this?
I was just surprised that how poor the Sharks forwards were.
Yeah.
None of them got over 100 metres.
Especially given that's what what
they've been doing, just bashing teams through the middle.
Yeah.
Niokora missing 12 tackles. That has to be some type of record. But it was everything opposite what the Sharks have been doing. Just simple football, up through the guts, just having the forwards roll, dominate. And I understand Nico getting injured, but even if he's not injured, they were just poor.
Yeah. I think Penrith went out of the way too, because Penrith just owned the first 15 minutes and there was no answers after that. It was almost like, shit, this is what it actually is like up here, and they didn't know how to get things settled.
And that's almost what it was like. It's like they're now saying you got like this team. They've won 7 straight. They're our biggest threat. Let's show them how good we are.
Yeah, and that was set up from Yo was fantastic. I said Fisher Harris. They just really were physical, and just got in their face. And it's like the schoolyard bully getting punched in the nose, and just didn't know what to do next. Really. Nico kicked a few out in the full. His calf went, and I think By the time it was 16-0, you knew there was no answers. You knew that was it. It was only how far.
I don't think he should have played. It was obvious that calf injury was coming into the game, and I think that may have affected how he was playing.
Yeah.
And then, just got to that point. He went off around the 30-minute mark. The game was already over. It was, I think it was just a risk that didn't need to be taken by the Sharks.
Especially given that from all reports, he was already the New South Wales halfback. Like, I don't know how much that played into him, what he did or didn't do in the game, but it's an interesting one. And especially given Trindle's allowed to play as well. It wasn't like...
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they didn't have somebody there that could do it for him. But it was just one of the biggest shock results due to the scoreline of the season.
And we then got to 42-26. Did you... Oh, sorry, just for the record, I had, Luai 3, Edwards 2, and as I said, Kenny 1, but I wouldn't say no to a Fisher Harris or a Yo, obviously, if you were really...
No, Mitch Kenny, well-deserved. He controlled the ruck quite nicely, set up a try. Yeah, played quite a good game.
42-26 South over Para. Go on, I'll let you have your say here and tell us what happened and didn't happen for your boys.
Oh, I tipped South.
Well, so did I, and and I was pretty confident about it, to be honest. But
so was I. My biggest thing is I think Latrell Mitchell's future is not at fullback, and that was shown in this game.
Yep.
He's got the defence to be up in the front line.
I was going to say, you're thinking more 6 than...
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. More 6 and centre.
He's got a great boot on him, which I know he can do at fullback, but just that big body running down the sideline, doesn't have to waste his energy being a fullback, jumping from side to side. Just put him on one side of the field, very similar to what Luai does for Penrith when Cleary's playing.
Yeah.
Just stick him on the left, keep him there, and just have him bully the edges.
I agree. Well, what do you have? He had the big bomb that led to a try, which Blaze dropped. He had a couple of beautiful, balls to put players over. So I agree. Would love to see him just back it, tell him he's doing it. I wonder if that's something Bennett would do. Like, just say you're 6 now.
Yeah.
Get him and really play to his ego and say, get your hands on the ball 3 times a set. Go and bully some.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw Inglis do it. We've seen Lockyer do it. We've seen all those players that do. It's a natural evolution. Fall back into 5'8" these days.
And that's it. Once he gets a bit of confidence behind him, the opposition just stop. They freeze every time he gets the ball.
Exactly.
Because they don't know if he's going to run or if he's going to throw that 3-man cutout pass or the short ball back on the inside. Like, they just... Because he is that good when he's on that he will just worry other teams, and he doesn't have to waste the energy of having to float side to side and at the back.
Yeah.
He looks like somebody that doesn't like doing a kick return.
Exactly. So just get him there, and like you say, Luai's a good model where he can just chime. If I know you need a dominant half at times, but he can do what he wants in attack, and he can just pick an edge and stand next to Kolomatangi or Murray or someone once they're all there. He's not going to. He doesn't miss tackles. He's not going to get bullied out of the defence either.
No, definitely not. It's not like that small player at fullback that you can't put into the front line.
I thought Kolomatangi was sensational too. I thought he
was by far his best game of the season.
Yeah. Anything you want to? We've talked about Para a little bit earlier, but is there anything you want to even touch on here?
The changes have been made. They had to happen. What do you say? It's the writing was on the wall before the game started. The side was pretty much exactly the same as what BA had been picking.
Yeah.
Definition of insanity.
Realistically, now there's 2 hopes for the spoon, and Souths aren't one of them. I think it's Tigers or Para.
Well, I've got money on Para, so that won't happen.
So thanks. You're leaving the Tigers at the bottom.
So
I think that clash is actually coming up next week or 2, but
a couple of weeks. I got them at $21. I think they're into 7 now. So
it's good shopping. Yeah.
Yeah, there might be a nice cash out in a couple of weeks if we lose a few more. But with Moses and Gutherson back, it'll be a good test this week against the Sharks. See how they bounce back.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's. I still feel like there's going to be more hurt before there's improvement.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a problem. Like, that's where we're at. Like, the players are the players. You can't suddenly go and change 7 blokes. You're playing
No.
these blokes $500,000 a year. These forwards have to be on the field. It's just how you get the best out of them.
That's it.
I had Colin Matangi 3, Latrell 2, but happy to flip that. And I actually
those were definitely the top two.
And
I feel like Cook probably had his best game of the season.
yes, I'll sing in Cook or Moali.
Yeah.
For next best. So we'll go with Cook for the one. And then we saw the Titans, the other big upset of the round, knock off Brisbane. Titans now put together a solid 6 weeks. Brisbane, it was weird because I thought it was just how far Brisbane until they stopped playing.
It's 6 weeks in a row. Their games have been decided by like 6 or less now.
Wow. And that was this pattern last year as well, wasn't it?
That Des Hasler fights got into him after the poor start to the season. I thought it was just going to be a runaway. The way Walsh was just going around Fermor, I just thought they were going to do that all game, and then they kind of stopped.
20 minutes ago.
But the Titans have done this a couple of times to Brisbane now.
Yeah, they have, yeah. I don't know if it was Q in the rack. It was just a weird game because, even thinking about best players, you had your Walsh and Haas were just on fire, and then like 20 minutes ago, it was almost, I don't know if they put the Q in the rack, whether they gassed out, I don't know what it was, whether Titans, they're playing with 3 hookers and whatever else, but they found points.
Yeah, I actually missed the 3 quick tries. I went to grab a bite to eat, thinking that after the Ezra Mam try, I thought, that'll probably be it. The Broncos will run away, grab a bite to eat, and I come back, and they're on 36, and I was just like, wow, what have I missed there?
I actually, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Broncos just ready for a break, and maybe Titans have got a nice, a tidy future for the next few weeks.
Yeah, potentially.
Wait to see. How did you?
I don't even know. I don't know how you're going to give points out in this one.
Neither do I. I've ended up settling on Beau Fermor for 3 points. I thought he was as good as Fafita on an edge, but you could argue Fafita, you could argue Reece Walsh, you could argue Payne Haas. He was phenomenal again. Kiakini was great.
Payne Haas got 235 running meters.
Yeah. Let's give him now the match. Let's go
Beau
for 2, and then like any of those other 4. Cobbo was great actually as well.
Cobbo was great. David Fafita got 230 meters.
Yeah, Fafita, or I'm thinking Fafita, Keeney, or Walsh, or Cobbo.
Well, Keeney actually, that probably was his best game in his short career.
Yeah,
that was a couple of try assists, 260 odd meters, and I know he didn't get every goal, but at the end of the day, he got 4 from 7, and that's what helped them get over the line.
Give him the one, then we'll go with that, and we'll wrap up with the Dolphins. Again, another team that had everything going away for 25 minutes, and then the Wires just weathered the storm and then just won. So, odd game, very physical. I think Warriors just muscled their way back into it. And
where did this come from with how many outs they've got?
Well, that's a question we talk about. We obviously talk about power and Tigers and depth in some clubs. They were missing 10, I think it was more than 10 genuine first graders and proper, representative first graders. And they stepped up. They did the job. I thought, first of all, I thought Herbie Farnsworth was the best player in the field. He was outstanding, both sides of the ball. But Danaan matched him at fullback, back at fullback for a long time in a while, and was breaking tackles, was returning kicks, was scoring tries. And, the captaincy really suited him. He was great. I thought Barnett led the way physically on the eve of his, potential Origin debut was great. And just a second week in a row, different points of attack to what they've seen from Johnson. Tamari Martin and Chanel playing real direct, running into the line, both coming up with tries, and just getting right away from, to be honest, maybe Sean Johnson was part of the problem for the start of the year because it was so stagnant, that attack. And it's just been different gravy since then.
Yeah, my biggest thing was it felt like the Dolphins were actually missing Trey Fuller after how well he had been playing.
And Hammer was good, but we know Hammer can play
but
centre. We know he can play. Maybe you're right.
Well, he's there for Origin.
Maybe they need to get him into 4 and get Trey Fuller back. And I know it's rough on Avarillo, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong because that was Hammer's a fantastic finisher, but Fuller had the creativity. Like was the one that would go and grub her through the line or chip and chase or pop
Yeah,
up somewhere a
exactly.
bit different. We'll see what comes out next, but I'd probably agree with that. I think if he's on the field, there's at least another 6 points in the Dolphins, especially in that first 20 minutes when it was only 10-0.
And it was 4 tries all.
Yeah.
It come down to the goal kicking.
Yeah, but the amount of ball and opportunity they had in that first 20, there should have been more than 10 points scored from the Dolphins, I think. So
Yeah.
that was probably a difference. Kudos to the Warriors. You've got to say one of the best wins in club history from what they were missing and what they had to chase down. So they've now put 2 together. Maybe they're back on track. Depending which side of the result, I thought, as I said, Herbie and Dallin were the 2 best players on the field. Whichever way you want to go.
I had Danaan. I think Dallin won then the game.
Yeah, so we'll give him 3.
Yeah.
2 to Herbie, 1 to maybe Mitch Barnett or Tamari Martin. What are you thinking?
Well, they were actually both the 2 that I had. If you're going another Warriors, Mitch Barnett, another one that you could say potentially had a phone call before the game to say,
yeah,
don't stuff up here and you're in the running for an Origin jersey.
He was asked about that and he was very coy about his reply, so I assume that did happen. We'll give it to him because I think it was the physicality that dragged him back, and Tamari was able to capitalise on top of that. Beautiful. I guess we've got to now do what we came for and preview. Any other takeaways quickly from last week that didn't catch your eye? Anything else you want to really touch on?
The one thing I did read was about Elliot Whitehead swearing right at the referee and nothing happening about it.
Yes, he did.
I'm waiting for that crackdown to happen again.
Todd Smith, if there was ever going to be a bin for, I guess you call it dissent, it should happen in this game. There was a full lecture, and old Elliot was down on his haunches, not even looking at him, and I think repeatedly said, "Look at me," and whatever else, and how he didn't just go to the bin, mate. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, same. The other one that I'm pretty sure there was a new rule that was meant to be brought in at the start of the year for players knocking the ball down.
On which side? For around dummy half and that?
No. They were talking about new rules that they were talking about coming in, and it was to do with the intentional knockdown.
Oh, right. Okay.
And it's just, I'm guessing it just never come through because I haven't seen a penalty for it all season.
No. But it's same as they're going to crack down on the rucks, the ruck and maul drives, and that's all we see around. We see that, especially around sidelines now. That happened every game, and the disruptor was just disappeared this round. I think there were that's
disappeared like a penalty for a forward pass.
Yeah,
blocker going off in one of the games. It just some penalties they don't do anymore.
I don't know whether it's intentional, whether they forget, whether they just go, that rule sucks, just phase it out. I don't know. But you're right. And like I said, I noticed this round a lot of those rugby-style drives, which apparently they didn't want. I noticed plenty of disrupt, like Matt Burton, every time a kick goes up, runs a disruptor line or jumps before, jumps a minute before anyone else, and that didn't get called. So I don't know. But I haven't known all year.
And then you could always talk about the hip drop and the inconsistency there. But that's
for the record. Everyone was whinging about that. I thought that was a hip drop in the Tigers game, and I thought Tom Dearden looked just as bad. But whatever. I will say Clemmers was worse. Clemmers was worse,
and he stayed on the field.
Yeah. But
it happened in the South Eels game.
Yes, it did. Yeah,
Latrell got done, and then an Eels player done it and stays on the field.
Yeah. All we ask for is consistency, and that's the most frustrating thing. I will say that Tigers game, I thought Belinda Sharp, apart from the hip drop, which comes from the bunker anyway, I thought she did a very good job in that game. In a season where controversy around female refs, but I thought she was fine, more than fine. She was good. But anyway. So I'm always negative, so let's say something positive. Round 13. Good to keep ploughing on.
Yeah, mate.
Round 13 kicks off with the Eels hosting the Sharks at Combank. They welcome Gutho back. They welcome Mitch Moses back. Penasini back as well, who obviously didn't help their calls being out late last week, which pushes Blaze Talangi to the bench, as we've touched on. Couldn't imagine that there's not more opportunity to get him on the field. Brendan Hands, the sole hooker in the team. Joffa starts at lock with no Hopgood. And Rimu Gregg's back for the first game since round 5. Sean Lane pushed to the bench along with Makatoa. So, yeah, Morgan Harper's gone. Madison dropped. No Moretti, no Lussick, who we've seen plenty of this year in first grade. For the Sharks, no McGuinness, obviously, and no Nico, which sees Jack Williams into the starting team at lock, and Toby Rudolph comes onto the bench. Braden Trindle is back with from his no-fault stand-down to join the scrum. Is there any optimism here for you?
Well, the odds say there should be. Earlier in the week, Sharks were $1.46, Eels $2.71, and now it's Eels $1.67, Sharks $2.21.
Wow. Why?
Moses and Gutho back, Nico out for the Sharks.
An excuse to get some money out of Para, I would suggest.
That's it.
Yeah. So how are you seeing this play out? Is there a bounce back here? Is this pretty cut and dry?
If the Sharks weren't flogged last week,
that'd be $1.20.
Then yeah.
I guess we'll do what we have to do here. I agree. I think there's bounce back. I think Fitzgibbon would have torn them a new one. I think there'll be a real point to prove with Nico not being here and Atkinson and Trindle having to find some points. Look, it is slightly concerning. All of a sudden, their spine doesn't look exactly like a premiership spine right now with with Kennedy's form. But I think they'll get enough work out of their back five. They'll get back to business as usual, and I think they'll win 1-12 in what will become a grinding game. And I think there'll be plenty of hope for Parramatta. I think there'll be plenty of early. I think they might actually score a couple of tries early, but I think
it's the best 17 we've had all year.
Yes, and I think Moses and Gutho will contribute to early points. I just think once you get into that 15-plus minute rotation, you'll see them concede 12 or 18 late, and that'll cost them the game. I think Sharks 1-12. I'm going to go with what I said. First try, we'll go a try assist from Gutho for a Sevo try, and we'll go man of the match. Actually, I'm going to go with Blake Brayley, just controlling this forward pack and getting making 40-plus tackles. What about yourself?
I just Ronaldo Mulatalo, first try scorer. I just at the end of the day, the defensive issues that sorry, the battery's about to die on the laptop.
The power starts to go on the laptop.
Yeah, no. So the defensive issues that Parramatta have won't disappear overnight. So Ronaldo Mulatalo, he's due a try. And I think, Trindle's going to have a point to prove. So I had him down as man of the match in a Sharks close win.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be that, as you said, there'll just be like a 10-minute period where the Eels will switch off and Sharks will go bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, and that ruck with just the one hooker is where I think Brayley can really darting out and be the point of attack there in that second half. The only game on the Friday night is a very interesting one. Knights hosting the Bulldogs. Knights coming off the bye. Daniel Saifidi's back from his suspension. Jack Hetherington drops out. And Mapapa Langi comes back for his first game of first grade in a while with Bradman Best injured. We've got Toby Sexton keeps a 7 spot for the Bulldogs. Drew Hutchinson takes the 6. Carraz into the centres. Wilson onto the wing, which is fine by me. Preston comes into the second row, so it looks like he'll get kick-out spot for the foreseeable future. Good for Supercoach again. And Kurt Mann is back at 13. Hayward, Curran, Moran, Fasil Mali, the Famasili, actually, wrong way around, is on the bench. Yeah, I need to think about this. So how have you lined them up? Obviously, Newcastle coming off, I think 4 straight wins now.
Yeah, I think Newcastle will be able to get them done. But I don't. The burden not being released.
Yeah.
Will be the big one. If he gets released, I'd be tipping the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But I think with him not being there, I do think that'll be the difference. With the Knights being able to get over the line. They are on a good little run. Who would have thought? Everyone pretty much once Ponga was gone, everyone put a line through them, myself included. But yeah, they've Armstrong's been amazing at the back.
Yes.
But they've just been good team efforts. There's not been like some guy that's just individually done an amazing run to to take them to the wins. They've just been all round good team efforts. They seem to have a new injury every second week.
Yeah.
Especially in the halves, it feels like they've got a new halves pairing every second, third week there. But their forwards have been laying a platform, and their backs have been getting some points off the back of it.
Really interesting, actually, the back row naming Kai Pearce-Paul and Dylan Lucas to start. That's obviously some strike on both edges there. I'm with you in that if Burton was playing, I'd tip the Bulldogs. I'm going to tip them because every week I say, look, my concern is the forward pack, and for the last 6 weeks, it hasn't been. They've matched up most teams, and I think they can probably match. I'm not going to say they're going to better, but I think they can match the work rate of the Newcastle forwards, and then I just think that strike out of Carraz, Sherry, Wilson being in the team, and now the direct player Sexton can lead to points. I think this will be a point. This is the best one for me to miss a leg in a multi. So I think I'm going to throw a 4-try scorer one here together. I'm going to go man of the match. I'm going to go 1 to 12 Bulldogs. I think Connor Tracy will get his hands on the ball by default here, having to jump in and look for Summer Crichton and Burton's work. We'll go with him man of the match. First try scorer, my mate Blake Wilson. He's pretty good for it. We'll stick with him, but no real confidence here.
I think it's the Burton missing. It's the kicking game.
True.
So I think that's
which Hastings has been doing quite well.
Yeah, and Drew's just going to stifle the attack, unfortunately, especially with Burton not being there.
Yeah.
So I feel the forward's going to be scoring first here. Kai Pearce-Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a feeling he might be able to crash over again in a close game with Jaden Brayley as my man of the match. Knights 1 to 12.
Saturday kicks off 5:30. We're back at Bluebet. It's the first time in forever, where the Panthers host the Dragons. Dane Laurie comes in to the fullback spot to take his crown, do his job that he was brought to do, look after Edward's spot for 6 weeks or so. We've got Brad Schneider back. So Schneider and Cole, the halves pairing, which all of a sudden, and look through this Penrith team, you would not have recognised this 12 months ago, would you?
No.
So, which is very interesting. We've also got Trent Talau on the bench making his first grade debut. Preston Wiki on the bench for his first grade debut. Mav Gaia, Tyrone Peachy in a very different looking team. For the Dragons, Sione Finu comes onto the wing to replace Lomax, Max Fagai, and Matt Fagai are also in the back line there, in the centres and wing respectively. Jesse Marshke, number 7. We've got DeBellin playing at prop. Luciano Leilua starting for Talamaro Eisenhuth. Then the bench is the 2 Couchman boys coming back for the first time this year, which is good to see because they need a change and they were good last year. That all being said, are there any hope here, the Dragons?
No hope without Ben Hunt. If Ben Hunt was in this game,
yeah,
I'd give him a real red-hot chance. But I just... Schneider and Cole, especially Schneider, I feel like he could almost start at half the other clubs.
Yeah.
But he's stuck behind Cleary.
Well, he did, didn't he, last time? He was at another club.
Yeah. And Cole's been great. But the big thing is they've still got Moses Leota. They've still got Mitch Kenny off one of his best games. James Fisher-Harris, Scott Sorensen, Liam Henry. There's still plenty of what the Panthers do best, which is in the forwards.
Yeah.
And they've still got plenty of depth there to just do the simple stuff right. And they pull amazing players out of their backside it seems like every week that they need a new one. They've just got another one lined up, ready to go.
I think, and I don't know much about him, I think one of my reserve grade pervs has said Trent Talau's maybe the best talent they've got coming through. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was that name. But so interested to see him. I think he's a back rower. But so very interested there. Look, I just can't tip the Dragons. I just about any other. I reckon there's 14 other clubs I would almost tip this week playing against this Penrith team. But I think the forward pack, Fisher Harris is on a bit of a heater. And the rest, Lindsay Smith, you can trust. Liam Henry, you can trust. Scott Sorensen, you can just trust that forward back to outmuscle what's here, and then I don't know what's left on the other side. So 1 to 12.
And the Dragons are without their three best players this year in Lomax, Hunt, and Sewer,
who have all the tries and all the try assists, really, like Ben Hunt and Lomax.
All the points.
Exactly. So
I that's it. I don't see where if they got more than 12, I'd be shocked.
So
I can see Penrith getting at least 5 tries.
I think we're both tipping a bludger here. We'll go Penrith 1. I'm going Penrith 1 to 12. I'm going to say Fisher Harris man of the match. I actually have a sneaky feeling Tyrone Peachey might be in for a big game off the, doing a bit of tricky stuff off the bench. I think he might find a try or a try assist or two. But we'll go first try scorer with Taruva. He's been doing it well all year, and they'll somehow again find that overlap off a scrum or down that right side and come up with points for him. Any final word there?
I've got Leota for first try scorer.
Yep.
Love a good prop to score a try. Panthers 13 plus, and James Fisher Harris man of the match. I think he'll just lead the team around, and if he stays on long enough, 200 meters type effort, just absolutely dominate.
Dolphins and Raiders is the main event from KO Stadium, where I was the other week enjoying a beverage. Lovely facility they got up there. Trey Fuller's back. You get your wish here. He's back at 1. For the rest of the team, they look pretty much the same. Mark Nichols starts with Kafusi into the Queensland side, and Milford comes into the 17. Josh Pupley's back from his...
Lemu starts.
Oh, Lemu is
Kafusi.
starting. Lemueli.
Yeah, he's in for Kafusi. Nichols is in prop.
Sorry, he is too. You're right. And we've got Jared Wallace not on the side, yeah. So they're slightly smaller, but they've been doing a job with Max Plath and co. For Canberra, Papley's back. Hudson Young goes out of the team. Mariota starts. Sasagi onto the bench. Tricky one. I'm just going to go with the Dolphins. I think they can bounce back. I think, again, they'll match the... And I really like Lemuel. I really like Ewan Aitken, who's found some really good form. And Max Plath growing into a fantastic first-grade player. I think that back line can match what Canberra can produce. And if it does, there's just more points in the back at this stage. But this is a flip of the coin job almost. Frustratingly, there's a few of these of late, and I'm being on the wrong side in tipping comps. But Herbie, on his back of his fantastic week last week, we'll go him first try. And we'll go with Max Plath, man of the match, doing a ton of work. But Trey Fuller, a couple of try assists, I think, is on the table. 1 to 12 Dolphins. What are you thinking?
I think this is that game that you're talking about where there's going to be plenty of tries.
Yeah.
I can just see both sides just scoring plenty. Ethan Strange, I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. The guy's been absolutely amazing. So I can see him setting up 2 or 3. But as you said, the Trey Fuller's probably going to set up or score a couple himself. Max Plath has been absolutely amazing to watch this year for a guy that I didn't know much about before the season started. But I've gone Canberra, something different finally. I've got Kotrick first try scorer with Strange man of the match.
When Canberra win, it's almost a lot of the time it's last try wins in their games, isn't it? So it'll be that seesaw sort of battle. Yeah.
And that's how I feel like this could be try for literally the whole 80 minutes, and it could come down to something like the goal kicking. It could be 5 tries each by the end of it.
Yep. And we wrap up with the Roosters hosting the Cowboys. The Roosters look pretty good. Junior Polgar comes in for Swahili. Terrell May starts, and Nat Butcher into the back row with Collins and Crichton out, so not losing a great deal there. Spencer Leniu is replaced by Egan Butcher, and we've also got Sia Wong, Tupanua, and Michael Jennings on the bench. Sandon Smith as well on the bench. All the guns are out here, so this Cowboys team... Tom Chester, Valia in the centres, Braden Burns on the wing, Jake Clifford at 6, and in the forward pack, McLean starts, Griffin Neem starts, Lukey and Finna Fuiaki in the back row, McKaylee at lock, McIntyre, Harrison Edwards, Shibasaki, and Tomalo the bench. 13 plus, I'm not going to spend too much time here, 13 plus Roosters, too many outs for the Cowboys in a team that, as we talked about earlier, was still slightly disappointing defensively. I think this could be a job again. There's some points to prove from the people that are left. Victor Radley, man of the match. I think Teddy will be man of the match, but we'll go Victor Radley for 2, back on that edge, having a big day out. And because he cost me one of my multis last week, Dom Young first try scorer. We know where that's headed.
Yeah, you pretty much stole exactly what I was going to say there. The Cowboys are missing 6 of their best 7 players, with Drinkwater being the only one that's still in the side this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick your line, pick your margin, whatever you want it to be. It'll be Roosters by plenty. Dom Young, first try scorer. Tedesco, man of the match. Yeah, short and sweet, that one.
Very good. That just about does. I'll just ask you quickly, we're at SuperCoach. You're our SuperCoach top ranker most years, or is it been a torture year?
Nah, this year has been terrible. It feels like every week I had 3 players injured for the first 5 rounds, and I've just not been able to catch my tail. It looked like it started coming good, and then that was the week that Cleary got injured, but I had 3 other people injured, so I couldn't move Cleary on straight away. Oh, it's been terrible.
I feel your pain, and I feel like everyone's in the same boat.
This has probably been my worst year in about 5 seasons. I'm like halfway in the rankings. I'm having an absolute bludger of a season.
I think I've finally found somewhere where I'm nearly comfortable. I'm a bit over having Sam Hughes in my front row, so I want to upgrade him. The only question I ask, we won't spend heaps of time on this, but what are you doing with Nico, given injury, given origin, given restings, and given his many bucks?
Now that Snyder's back, I'm very tempted to pick Snyder.
Yeah.
Because the money that I've been using elsewhere to upgrade, I need to pick a player that's going to make money.
Yeah.
Looking at my side, I've got 14 players that I'm happy with for the rest of the season. But with the buys, the fact I've got like 3 Roosters, there's, a couple of players where you've got 2 from each side, you need to have 20.
Yeah.
So I need to, work on I think I've got 19 trades going into this week. I need to find out how I'm going to make the money to upgrade those other 6 positions. So I think I'm going to have to risk Snyder. There's no one worth. I could go Moses as a massive pod. Yeah, because no one's going to be on him.
Well, maybe they will now. Like, there has to be someone. There has to be someone with no Cleary, no DCE, no.
That's what I mean.
I suppose Sam Walker's the one that they'll gravitate.
But, no one might like, well, everyone's going to go Walker, but if I went Walker, I'd have 5 Roosters. Exactly, and they've got the bye next week.
Yeah. Look, Toby Sexton.
So then I wouldn't even have.
I'd given some thought to almost Sexton, but how do you trust?
I think he's only at. I think he might only be at 5'8".
And he is, yeah. So I don't. Yeah. But I feel like that's about it, right? Like if he was 400, I'd almost grab him. But I feel like 5'8" is where he'll sit.
Yeah.
Like he might get some 60s here, and he'll kick this week, I suppose, with no Burton. But
no one might like. Oh yeah, whoever I bring in. Sorry, Snyder, if you get injured again. Because that's been my season.
Yeah, I know. The other one that I do like, and I'm going to use as my full-time front row, is Samuela Fainu now. I think now he's playing 80 minutes. He's good for some tackle busts. He found a try line last week. And
front row is probably my only good position at the moment. Well, actually, I've got Walsh and Tedesco at fullback, but I've got Cotter, Tapine, and Fanua Blake in the front row.
Oh, you're doing it right. It's actually that's it for front row. Like, front row's so bereft of options, isn't it? Like, there's not.
It's that and Haas.
Yeah.
Tommy Hazelton, if you jumped on him early enough.
Yeah, he's a bit over it. And Stefano's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you can't be buying Tom Hazelton now because you can't keep up that try.
No.
5 tries in 10 games or something?
No, that's it. So I agree. It's sort of an interesting position. CT dubs are what they are. And I guess you're about to see a lot of people buy Tedesco for the next 6 weeks.
Well, I've jumped on him, and he's just, him and Walsh for the rest of the season now. So that's one position locked up.
Yep.
So the other one's the second 5'8". I think it's most teams are just going to end up, especially with Munster out again. I think it's going to be very Brown Burton.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams are just going to have Brown and Burton, and that's the problem. Is that those, as you said, with the front row, halves are all over the shop. Fullback, a lot of people are just going to run Walsh Tedesco. There's going to be awfully hard to catch people.
Yeah, I'm running Plath and Galvin for now at 5'8", just because they're doing a job. They're both.
Well, I've got Plath. I've had him from the start of the season.
And Lockie's growing
I've
into
got Brown there still.
Yeah, and mate, I like to be a bit pottish, and now they're both dual, like they interest, like sort of crowbarring backwards and getting Brown in, and then you moving back a spot might be the way to go.
Yeah.
Or Burton had he been playing this week, actually, if Burton was playing this week, I would have bought him. Simple as that.
Yeah, 100%. If Burton gets released, he'll be coming in.
Yeah. And similarly, I'm happy, and Harry will just do me for the rest of your hooker. And
I'm stuck with Egan again, and that's just been a glutton for punishment there.
Yeah.
Because he's been great when he plays 80, but it seems like he has 2 good games, and then there's a HIA and he's out the next week.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we torture ourselves with. But anyway, thanks, Danaan. Thanks for your time tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again, if not next week, in the next few weeks. I'll hit you up, and obviously you've got busy time with the family coming up as well. So the plan is to have a rotating cast, Danaan, perhaps GT, maybe even dust off Ollie in the meantime. But let's see how we get through our previews. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Life sucks for a lot of people, so be good to everyone. Reach out to your friends. Be nice to each other, especially the Tigers fans in your life. And we'll do it all again soon. Check out all our socials and all that good stuff. Thanks, mate. And we'll chat to everyone next week. Catch you guys.
Thanks for having me on.